To this, yes, welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Angela Ray Show. I hope that you all have had a great day and you are winding the evening down. This is part two in my Leading My Best Life series. For everyone who is catching the broadcast on the replay, thank you so much for all of your support of the Angela Ray Show. I certainly appreciate it. For all of my live viewers, if you're going to be watching the broadcast live, I know some of you you're just getting the notification. It's a little slow. I get that. But whenever you get on the broadcast, go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and slide into those comments. Let me know what you had for lunch today. Yeah, definitely. Let me know what you had for lunch on today. Again, this is Leading My Best Life. And this series is all about highlighting and featuring amazing leaders in a variety of fields. So often when we think about leadership, the first thing that comes to people's minds is the president of an organization, the executive director, or someone with a quote unquote title. But there are many people who are leading and trailblazing a path for others to follow. So, again, whenever you get on the broadcast, go ahead and slide into those comments. Let me know. What did you have for lunch on today? As always, we get the party started each and every evening with my Ray of Motivation moment. And so for tonight's Ray of Motivation moment, I just want to remind you that the grass is always greener on social media. The grass is always greener on social media. During this time of social distancing and not being able to see family and friends and coworkers and getting to our homecomings and class reunions, we have relied heavily on social media to stay connected. It is a great tool. It is a great resource. I am very thankful for it. But for those who may be feeling isolated, who may feel that perhaps their life is not as good as somebody else. Let me tell you, comparison is definitely the thief of joy. That's not a ray of motivation. I didn't come up with that. That is definitely a very common saying. And that's why I say that the grass is always greener on social media. You would be surprised, or maybe you would not, especially if you hang out with people who post often to social media, how long sometimes it may take to come up with the perfect picture, the right angle, the right lighting, all of that stuff. They may take 10 photos before they actually get to the one that they're ready to post. So while you are looking and being jealous of what you perceive as someone's perfect life, believe it or not, someone could be admiring exactly what you have. So it's always so important to be grateful for what's in your life and remember that, social media is a highlight reel. Again, it's a great tool, but it's a highlight reel. Every now and then we find those individuals who perhaps share too much. They're a little bit too transparent, but by and large, we post the highlights. We post the good things. You don't see the behind the scenes preparation, the behind the scenes disappointments. So, for this Ray of Motivation moment on this Tuesday edition of the Angela Ray Show, I just want to remind you that the grass is always greener on social media. All right. So, again, I am really excited about my for tonight. For well over a decade, if you were like me, radio fans heard her voice with her tips for the single moms as a part of the nationally syndicated Tom Joyner Morning Show. But Myra J actually got her start doing stand up comedy before moving on to acting, writing for television, and then being a radio personality. She also helped to create the iconic radio soap opera It's Your World. I was trying to debate if I was going to sing that. One of her early credits as an actress was in the cult classic Hollywood Shuffle, one of my all time favorite movies. But since that time, she's made appearances on Martin, Amen, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, and Eve, to name a few. In 2011, she was nominated for an NAACP Image Award for outstanding writing in a comedy series. And then 2 years later, she received the Creative Award from Black Women in Film. So it is my distinct honor to have a leader in radio, none other than Miss Myra J. Hey, Miss Myra J, how are
Hey,
you?
hey, Angela, how are you?
I am doing good. This is definitely a moment for me to have someone who has been a media icon for so many years as a part of my show. I truly appreciate you taking the invitation. I certainly appreciate it.
That always cracks me up. I'm like, God dang, how old am I? When people go, oh my God, and when I was born, I used to listen to you. I'm like, Jesus, how old am I?
Well, you started young. That's what it was. You started young.
In the embryo, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
You
yes,
started
yes,
very young.
yes, absolutely.
So, what has kept you busy during this quote unquote downtime that so many people have experienced during the pandemic?
Look, have you seen that video by the sister KD French? I'm I'm in the fridge again. The sister
I
who's
haven't,
singing in the
but I
little
don't need to see it because I know exactly what you're talking about.
girl. Look, if I go, I just need for my refrigerator to be on an automatic lockdown. Like at a certain time, it just like no, come back tomorrow. I need a no sign. No, seriously, the first couple of months, I think we were all just kind of in shock.
Hmm.
And when I tell you I'm normally a pretty active person, and I think I sat on my couch for 2 months, just sitting, getting up. I would get up, come in the living room, might put on
Hmm.
some clothes, might not, and just stared, stared at the news, going, "Are you serious? Are you
Right.
really serious?" But I kind of got into audio books. I found that helped me because you can multitask. I used to be a very avid reader, and over the years I just got out of reading. But then
Hmm.
I found that with audio books, I'm like, I can actually sit here and do my laundry and get through a book. I can get other things done. I can wash dishes. So that really helped me. And books can take you anywhere you
Oh,
want to
yeah.
go. If you want to laugh, if you want to be in a drama, if you want to learn something. So that has really helped me. Yeah.
Now, you did stand up, as I mentioned before. You got into television writing as well as acting, and I read somewhere that you actually got involved with stand up on a dare. Now, how did that happen?
Yes. There was a guy took me on a date. This was when I lived in Los Angeles, and he was like, "What do you want to do? You want to go to the movies? You want to do da da da?" And then he said, "What about a comedy club?" And I went, "Oh wow, I've never been to a comedy club, and I always loved comedy." And so we went into the comedy store in Los Angeles. I remember it was on a Saturday night, and I was so excited. And it was like, I don't know how many, 10, 12 white boys got up there and did their shtick. And at the end of the night, the guy was like, "Wasn't that great? Wasn't that great?" And I said, "Oh, the half of them was funny, but I could do that." And he was like, "No, because they're professionals." And I was like, "No, seriously, I think I'm as funny as half of them guys up there." This was on a Saturday. And this guy told me, he said, "If you think you're so funny, they have open mic every Monday night." I didn't even know what that meant. I'm like, what's an open mic? He said, "Anybody can get on stage." I didn't tell him because I was too scared. But I belonged to a poetry writing group. And I told my friend Pat, I said, "I think I want to go on stage and try some comedy tomorrow night." And she said, "Well, I'm going to go up there with you, not to do comedy, but we signed up as a team." I don't know if we called ourselves Frickin' Frack. I don't remember what it was, but it was something. But she didn't want to pay. So that's why. So, so she said, "When it's time to go up, you just go up there by yourself." And and I went up, and it was like, when I tell you, it was like the light went on. I had never thought about comedy, had never performed comedy, and you get that 3 minutes, and 3 minutes is a long time to do a stand up. But I just knew it. I'm like, this is what I want to do. And what happened was, afterwards, a couple of scouts came up to me. And I was so green to the industry because they were like, well, who's your agent and how long have you been performing? And I'm like, I'm a social worker. I just did it. But they said something to me that always stuck with me. They said, this was some white guys. They said, you're funny, but you don't look like a black comedian, and we don't know what to do with you. And I knew exactly what they were saying to me. And I didn't say it to them, but I was so offended because I knew exactly what they were saying, because this was, oh my God, this was over 30 years ago. But all of our shows were our black comedy shows back then was That's My Mama, Good Times, um, What's Happening, those shows.
Sanford and
And
Son.
yes. But I knew that they were saying, you're not dark skinned, you're not overweight. I knew that's what they were saying to me. And trust me, my family comes in we are all shades of the rainbow. There's nothing wrong with that, but we all don't look like that. And the fact that they would say to me, but you don't look like a black comedian, so we don't know what to do with you. And I remember walking out of that club thinking to myself, I bet you they never said anything to Joan Rivers about what she's supposed to look like. And doggone it, I'm going to do stand-up comedy. And I would go down there, and I didn't know anybody, but I would stand in line with all those guys at night and wait to get up there and get on stage and do my little 3 minutes on open mic night. And I would just keep going back and keep going back and keep going back, because I really loved it. But it was just that, also that defiance in me, that when somebody goes, you're good, but you don't look the part. What the hell did that have to do with anything? So
Right.
that was my lovely intro to stand up at the Comedy Store.
So you eventually started acting and then writing for television. What was it like to write for television? I mean, because you were, I guess, as a stand-up, you were already creating your own material. And you
Right.
mentioned that before even doing stand-up, you were part of a poetry writing group. So writing was already in you.
Yeah, I had always, well, let's take it way back. In school, I love to write. I love to write short stories. I was a pretty good student, so I would like to hurry up and finish my work, and then I would write a little short story and start passing it all around the room. And I remember in eighth grade, I had written this story. This is when Batman was on television. The corny Batman when the words "pow" and "zap" would show up on the screen. So I had written this story about Batman and Robin came to the hood, and I did as an eighth grader. And this was like over 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And my science teacher, Mr. Georgopoulos, because everybody was passing it around the room, and he was like, what are you all doing? And he got a hold of the story, and he looked at it, and he was like, who wrote this? And they were like, Myra wrote it. And he was like, you come with me. I was devastated. I'm like, oh God, my mama gonna kill me. And he took me to the principal's office, and we were having a little eighth grade, kind of like a pre-graduation thing, for the eighth graders. And he
Mhm.
told the principal, we need to do this as a part of the program.
Oh.
Yeah. And I still remember that, because back then, nobody encouraged little black girls to do comedy or to write. If you were going to, quote unquote, be a professional back then, it was pretty much, you're going to be a school teacher, a
Mhm.
nurse, a secretary, or a social worker. Duh, I was a social worker. But I always had a thing for writing. I just love that whole process of writing. So when I I got there was a long period between me starting to do stand up, because like I said, when I went to the club that night to do it. I was in social services, and I just kept trying and trying and trying, but I would not quit, and I finally quit my job and took on temp jobs. That's how I survived. And trust me, the struggle, it wasn't even a struggle. I wasn't even that high yet. The struggle was real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, trying to make it, but I was just so blessed. So many people helped me along the way. Brad Sanders being one of them, because he was writing for this guy named Tom Joyner on this radio show, and Tom was doing bits on his countdown show, and Brad said, "Hey, this guy named Tom Joyner, he wants comedians to do bits on his countdown show. He doesn't have any women." And I came down, I submitted my little bit, and they used it. But being from Chicago, my friends started calling me the next week saying, "Tom Joyner is talking about you on the air." And I'm like, "What?" They say, "Yeah, Tom Joyner is playing one of your bits on the air." And one of my early jokes was, "Every woman loves a man, knows how to do that 4-letter word, ends in a K, work." And so,
I was like, "Ooh, are we gonna get
yeah,
cancer tonight?"
and he was playing that, not just on his weekend show. He was playing it, throughout the week. And so that's how I ended up writing for Tom, because he hired me as a writer. I probably wrote for Tom for a good 2 years before I even met him.
Oh
We would just
wow.
we would just talk on the phone. Yeah. Yeah, so that was my transition to to radio, and that went on for a while, and then television was just a whole nother leap in that doing stand up for
Hmm.
several years. Martin and I had the same managers. It was a group. Allison Topper Carew were managing black comedians. And when Martin got his television show, they had already staffed up and they were in pre-production, but they realized, out of all the writers that they had, and I think they had about 7 writers, no one had any experience in radio. And Martin's character, was a radio talk show host. And our manager happened to mention, "I have another client who also writes for radio," because I was writing for Tom Joyner. And literally, I got a phone call that said, "You want to write for television?" And I went, "Yeah." And they said, "Come in tomorrow." That is one of the biggest blessings you can have, to get into television. And I always feel bad when people come up to me to ask me for advice on how do I get into television as a writer. And I go, I'm really not the person to ask. The writing gods just shone down on me, because that's how I got my first writing. I hadn't even held a script in my hand. I hadn't read a script or anything the day that I walked in, that
Mm.
that day. And but literally, it was like going into the lion's den. But I was so eager to learn, and to do the darn just to do the darn job, and do it well. And it was a wonderful experience to learn. And I'm so glad. And the first time you see your name go across the screen, it's like, "Freeze frame, take a picture, there it is, I wrote it." But here's the real deal. What a lot of people don't understand, I know you as an actress know this, but as a television writer, particularly I guess with sitcoms, you get a script, you're assigned this, this is the idea, you go off and you write it. And then you bring it back to the group, and we do our table read. They're in the writer's room, and they start to edit it and pitch and make changes. Your script may get changed so many times. And I remember one of the writers telling me, "Myra, don't take it personally. The check don't change." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Have at it. Have at it. And it's usually to make the script better,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't be too defensive about it, and it could be something that's totally out of your hands. You could have written this wonderful script at Angela, and then all of a sudden they go, oh my God, we got a phone call and Rihanna wants to do a guest appearance. Well, guess what now, Angela? Now we got to rewrite the whole script by tomorrow so that Rihanna can come in and do this guest spot.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so some of your best jokes, save them for your own show.
Right.
That's all I can tell you, because those types of changes happen. But I loved it. I still love the writers' room. If you're in a good writers' room, that's
Mm-hmm.
a great experience. That's a really good creative experience.
Now, you talked about Tom Joyner. We talked about, moving to television writing. But in the middle of there was this soap opera with Pookie and Redbone and Sterling and all these people that I know I really wanted to see them. Yes, I love listening to him on the radio, but I wanted to know what Sterling looked like. And Redbone, that voice, I was like, ooh, I think he's tall. I had concept in my head what all these characters look like. And of course, you mentioned working with Brad Sanders for a number of years. What was it
Hmm.
like to create Is Your World?
Well, as they say, see what had happened was when because when I first started writing for Tom, he was the fly jock,
Mm-hmm.
and going from Dallas to Chicago, and I was his writer. When he decided he had this great idea, like I'm going to do a nationally syndicated show, he had a meeting and said, I'm going to need ideas for my show, and Brad was there, and Brad was doing the Klans update. He loves soap.
Mm-hmm.
That's his thing, and he said, Myra, why don't we create a soap opera? Boom, and I was like, okay. I'm down, and we contacted Jetta Jones and Mary Boyce, and we just decided to write this soap opera about these people in a town called Wellington, because everyone does well. But the ongoing joke we had is that I remember when we were sitting down writing the very first episode, that Jetta and Brad, they wanted Fontella, you know, Fontella and Ed to be, they were literally in the closet having sex. And Mary, yes, yes, yes. And Mary Boyce and I were like, no, this is no. Let's not start there.
Right.
We may get there at some point, but we need to build to that point. We don't start there. So like, oh yeah, and then we do. We're like, no. Pace yourself. That's the thing in any good show, particularly soap operas. They always take you right to the edge, and then you got to come back tomorrow.
Right.
So so yeah, so we were a really good writing group, and Brad was excellent with finding the talent, for people to play the parts. And fortunately, being in Los Angeles, we had such a large pool of great performers. And as word caught on, people would just come down and hang out just to have a line. Do you have an extra part or anything? And several of our actors were, I mean, so talented, that I want to say was Brandon Boland played several roles. He played, okay, focus, Mara. He played Sterling, Sterling Regal at Ed's nemesis, and then he also played, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Okay, wait, I'll skip him because I'll go to Larita Shelby. She played Chocolate Child, who
Chocolate Child. I remember
yeah,
Chocolate Child.
but she also played Pookie.
Oh, that's talent.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
range.
Oh, oh,
That's
oh,
range.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And just I feel so bad because I can't think of Brandon's other character, and it was one of our main characters. But to me, as a writer, this would be the biggest kick out. I would purposely write scenes where the characters would have to talk to themselves. And I would sit there like, and Chocolate Child is going to run into Pookie just so I could sit there and watch Larita go from Pookie to Chocolate Child, Pookie to Chocolate Child, Pookie to Chocolate, and they would nail it. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
They were so good. We were so, so blessed. And um, Leslie, Leslie Jones, she
Mm-hmm.
the comedian. She
Mm-hmm.
played one of our characters. I want to say was she a police officer? Comedian Rodney Perry.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Rodney would come in and do parts with us. I mean, just like I said, we were in LA,
Right.
period. And you ain't doing nothing on a Wednesday night. Come on down and see if you can get a part on the soap opera. So we always had plenty of people who wanted to be on there.
Wow. You got a question from one of our very loyal viewers here at the Angela Ray Show.
Oh, okay. In my opinion, no radio show can touch what the Tom Joyner Morning Show did for our community. It was a Black excellence 5 days a week. How did you feel after it ended? Yeah, that was Edwin. Thank you for your question. You know, it was the end of an era, and we had
Mm-hmm.
all kind of hoped like, well, maybe at the last minute, something else will come out of it. But I think as most champions, you kind of want to go out on top,
True.
and I had worked for Tom even before the Tom Joyner Morning Show, so I had worked for him for about 27 years,
Mm,
and so it was a good, as we said, we had a good run. We had a real good run. It was a bittersweet moment to see it end, but it couldn't end if it hadn't started.
right.
So I'm just really glad we had those years, and serving the community was just a part of the show. He always said he wanted to entertain and give information, and we did some touching things. One of the I remember after 9/11, and he had I think it was him and I think it was him and Tavis. They had churches in New York. Give names of people that need money. Through your church, and we went. It was like the following week to these
Oh, wow.
people's homes to directly hand them money, because we always know that Black people are on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to government handing out anything. And Tom was like, no, they need help now. And going into these people's homes after that tragedy, oh my gosh, it was really touching,
Mm.
really touching. Absolutely.
And then you're bringing back memories for me of like uh some of the other things you did. The Sky Show. I remember going to
Ah,
Sky shows, and there was always a segment where you all would roam around the arena and like get, people give you their cell phones to start calling people, and I could never get close enough to either one of y'all. Anytime I was at the Sky Show, many years I would go to the CIAA Sky
oh
Show, and
yes. Oh, those are some of our biggest ones. Yeah.
I used to go to that one every year. I probably went even when it moved from Raleigh and then moved to Charlotte. And then there was no more Sky Show, and I didn't understand how was the Sky Show going to end.
We said the same thing. We were like, what? It's no more Sky Show? It's no more Sky Show. How do we
Oh,
get to go out and clown and act the fool? It would be so amazing to us. Trust me, we would be so honored that people would get up and come. Because sometimes I would even say, these people do know that they can hear this on the radio, right? When people would be out there with their lawn chairs. I've been out here since 11 o'clock last night. And I'm like, for real? For real? For real? People were serious. They were serious. about the Sky shows, and they were so much fun. Oh my God. Trust me, as much fun as you all were having,
Mm-hmm.
we were having it on stage. I remember once J. Anthony Brown said to me, he said, Myra, we get to act a fool and then they pay us.
Oh yeah, seeing Jay and Mr. CIAA, the gentleman who changes clothes 20
Yes,
times every day.
yes,
Oh, them
yes.
going head to head at some of the CIAA Sky shows was just hilarious.
And Jay just, I don't know what it was. I'm like, Jay always wanted to drop his pants and have some underwear that had Christmas lights and words and neon signs. I'm like, Jay, if I see your ashy knees one more time. But you know what? You reminded me of something. As much fun as we were having, my mother, God rest her soul, in Chicago, I was still living in Los Angeles. She called me one day. She said, where do you work? And I'm like, I'm on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. She said, yeah. She said, no. What do you do for a living? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of like a sidekick on the radio. She said, I know that, but where do you go to work? And the people at church ask me what you do, and I'm like, I don't know what she do. And I'm like, Mom, I'm on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. She said, I know that, but when you leave there, where do you go to work? What's your job? And, and I was like, Mom,
Wow.
that's my job. That's what I do for a living. And my mother literally said, you get paid for that? I thought you volunteered at the radio station before you went to work. So your
Wow.
family will keep it real with you. My mother was so not impressed. She said, that little foolishness you doing on the radio down there. I'm like, I don't know how that girl make a living. She be down at that radio station in the morning.
That's funny. As an actor and entertainment, we're going from gig to gig. So like you, I have a friend who used to always call me Tommy because he said I didn't have a job. That was his nickname. He called me Tommy all the time. When I say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to work," he'd be like, "Okay, Tommy." So like, okay. All right. Edwin has another question for you.
Let's see. In your long career in the industry, what was the job or opportunity that got away? Uh, hmm, that got away. You know what? To be honest, I don't feel as though any of them got away because I feel like all things happen for a reason. So I never regretted like, oh man, I really wish I would have got that particular job. That just wasn't for me. That was for somebody else. I did Queens of Comedy the first season, and I was let go. Um, I didn't know I was let go till they started up the second season, and people was calling up asking me for tickets, and I was like, hell, I guess I need a ticket too, cause I didn't know, I didn't even know the show had started back up.
Wow. Now, were you doing stand up on Queens of Comedy or were you writing?
I was the host. I was the
Okay.
host. Yeah. So I was putting performing. It was myself, Monique Samore, and Adele. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so when they released me, they brought in Laura Hayes, who I absolutely love. When I was writing on Meet the Browns, it was a particular character that I was writing, and I really wanted her to play the mother, the character. And
Hmm.
so somebody said, "Wow, your heart is so big." I'm like, I'm like this, particularly as a writer. When I write something, it's nothing that gives me greater pleasure than to see an actor or actress bring that to life. Because many times a really good performer, they will
Hmm.
do something that as a writer, you go, dang, I didn't even think of that. Just
Hmm.
with an inflection or something that,
Right.
that they do, that's the key there. So it's been a couple of times where maybe I've seen a part, that I'm like, oh wow, I may want to play that. But once I see the person that they hired do it, I was like, No, they should have played that because I wasn't nowhere near there. Period.
Mm.
So
Now, in 2011, you were nominated for an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Writing in a Comedy Series. What was it like to receive that honor? I mean, where were you when you got the news? Who broke the news to you?
let me tell you what happened. I was here in Atlanta. My son lived with me, and it was it wasn't during Ice Mageddon, but it was one of those ice storms, and we were iced in. And we had been iced in a couple of days. And I told my son, I just want to go to the store across the street. I'm tired of being stuck in the house. We getting out of here. He was like, okay. Now, mind you, I'm from Chicago. I know about snow and ice. And so we're walking gingerly, and I
Not
get this
gingerly.
phone call. Gingerly, trust me, I was walking gingerly because we're walking on straight ice, and it's uphill trying to get out the subdivision. I get this phone call going, "You've been nominated," and I'm like, "What? You've been nominated?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I tell my son, I'm like, you go on to the store, because he was trying to pull me up the hill now because I'm starting to slide back down. I was like, no, go ahead. Tell my story, son, because I ain't going to make it with you. But I wanted to go back to the house because I want to jump up and down so I can
Hmm.
celebrate. I'm like, I'm not going to jump up and down on this ice. So I had
Right.
to get back to the house just so I could jump up and down and go, yay! To be to to win is fantastic. I didn't win. To be nominated, to be recognized, because as a matter of fact, I want to say that particular year, the guy, I can't even think of his name, the guy from Boondocks won.
I can't even think of his name either.
Right, right. But I love Boondocks. I thought it was great. And then I was also nominated for writing, uh, and it's called the Humanitas Award. And I was so honored because the Humanitas, they give awards to people whose stories have a lesson or a meaning. It's something else there. I was the only Black person in that category.
Mm.
But yeah, but I remember going up. Oh, girl, it was fancy. It was all up in Beverly Hills and stuff. And I was all like, oh boy, this is hoity-toity. But the episode that I wrote, I was so proud of it because it basically dealt with this older Black guy, was in the hospital, and his white doctor wasn't available. And this was on Meet the Browns, and Lamont's character came in to tell him, your doctor isn't here, and so on and so on and so. And the Black guy got so upset because he didn't want a Black doctor to work on him, and he ended up, well, of course, this is TV time, sitcom. He had a heart attack. Lamont, of course, said, what was his name? I don't even remember his character name, but Lamont Rucker, saves
Right.
him, da 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 da. The guy comes to, and he talks about how he was a Pullman porter and blah 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 blah, and that he should have known better. The way they used to have to form a union to have rights as Black people and da 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 da, and he's changed his mind now about feeling that way towards Black doctors, and so um, Lamont's character says, "Well, okay, I'm glad you changed your mind. I'm not going to be your permanent doctor now, but Doctor so and so is coming in." And he goes, "They're Black." Mm-hmm. He goes, "Okay." And this Black woman walks in. He goes, "Oh, it's a woman? Oh, hell no!" So
So he didn't learn anything
so
after all.
right. But that was the basis of my story. But I was really kind of proud of that story because I was trying to show that sometimes we can be our own worst enemy as a people. That was the gist of my story, and I got nominated for it, and I thought, cool.
That's amazing, and it's a very true story. In so many different cases, so many
Yeah,
different cases.
yeah.
what would you say has been your most unforgettable moment in your entertainment career?
Jeez, it's been so many. But probably going to South Africa and meeting Bishop Desmond Tutu. That
Oh.
was that was such an honor. We were supposed to be meeting with Nelson Mandela,
Hmm.
and at the last minute it was some unrest somewhere, and he had to go and handle that, and they said, well, we'll send Bishop Desmond Tutu, and you know the news anchor with the big bushy eyebrow, Sam Donaldson.
From ABC, yes.
Yes, Sam Donaldson was there, and I can still see Sam because it was we were there at that particular time. I think in conjunction with President Clinton. Clinton had gone there also, so a lot of media came because it was the first time an American president had gone to South Africa. Sam Donaldson, I can still see them big bushy eyebrows pressed up against the glass, looking in that room like, how the hell did these black people get Bishop Desmond Tutu and I didn't? Because we were just in there and his face was pressed like, he kept looking and all I kept going, that's Sam Donaldson. You didn't get the exclusive. So yeah, that was a good one. That
So
was a
this was
real
a
good
part,
time.
you all part of the radio show. You all were interviewing him.
Yes, 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 yes,
Wow.
yes. Yes, we went. Well, there's a story behind the story. We went to South Africa twice, uh, but I want to say the time we went in conjunction with President Clinton, Tom. Well, President Clinton had a whole convoy of people following him, and they were making a couple of stops before they came to Cape Town, and we were going to broadcast. So we're supposed to go straight to Cape Town and have everything set up. Well, you know we like baby's kids, right? So,
Uh-oh.
so our executive producer actually said, don't tell Jay, but we're going to make a stop. We're not going straight to Cape Town. So we went to Botswana.
Oh, Lord.
We did. We went to Botswana. And so we were like, yeah, because that's where the safaris are. You know,
Mhm.
you could be in the jungle. So we get there. If that's not bad enough, we Black Americans. These are our people. We're not going to one of these little touristy places because there's tourist signs everywhere. We just gonna stop a brother on the street and say we want to go on a safari.
Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, we do that. We meet the guy. He said, "Meet me here tomorrow morning." Okay, fine. We get out in out in the jungle, and we're sitting there waiting. And everybody else, when I tell you all these white folks who were being picked up in these air conditioned vans and blah blah blah, we wait for our ride. Brother man then hooked up a pickup truck and then nailed some slats. That's all it is. We're exposed to the elements. And so, okay, fine. We're on the slats. Now Jay is out there whistling, here, lion, lion. Where the lions at? I want to see the lions. Angela, I'm telling you, this was the wildest experience.
Oh my
We
God.
get deep off in the bush, and all of a sudden, I mean, it's just really tall branches, and we're on this little tiny path, and we come face to face with an elephant. And the elephant raised up on his hind legs and came down and made this loud noise. Jay screamed like a white woman. Jay just screamed. I'm talking about Mariah Carey high. He screamed. He cussed the man out, talking about turning this Jeep around. I need to see some concrete and linoleum. And, and the man turns the Jeep off and turned around and go, take the picture. Is this not why you come to Africa? Take the picture. So, we get out of all that. Now we're flying to Cape Town, which we should have been there. We're looking at the time like, okay, Tom is gonna be here any minute. We get out the cab, and when we step into the hotel lobby, all I could hear was Tom's voice screaming at the top of his lungs. What do you mean they haven't checked in yet? We were supposed to be there 3 days ago. Oh yeah,
Ooh.
we in Botswana. Oh yeah. We were in kind of a little bit of trouble behind that, but we did the show. But
Mhm.
we did the show. But
That was an unforgettable moment. Yes.
yeah, that was a highlight. That's people. That's how you do South Africa. Okay, go to a totally different country
Wow.
and meet your people 3 days late. See how that turned out for you.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Myra's Instagram account is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Any final thoughts as we begin to wrap up?
Um, I just want to say my life has been such a blessing for everyone in this pandemic thing. I know these are hard times. These are crazy times. I think every psychic and horoscope person out there should be fired because y'all's ass didn't tell us about this, and so you ain't worth a hill of beans. Every last one of y'all, first of all. But everybody just keep the faith, please. Wear your mask, wash your hands, do what you have to do to keep you and your family safe, and vote.
Amen. I could not have couldn't have summed that up any better. I was, as you were talking about, the Tom Joyner show not being around, I was like, oh, if Tom was on the air right now.
Ooh, baby.
Oh,
And wait, Tom would have us like, and y'all gonna come into the studio, just you better get that mask and come into the studio. Trust me, when he say he was the hardest working man, he was the hardest working man. For real, for real. He worked, but he earned every penny, every accolade, he earned it.
I
And
definitely believe it.
and if you didn't want to be hardworking, this was not the show for you, because his thing was get it done. You're like, but how we gonna do a show on the moon? Get it done. Okay, we're going to the moon now, y'all. It was it was kind of like that, yeah. But it was a great experience.
Awesome. All right. Well, Myra J, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us on the Angela Ray Show. Definitely a leader in radio. You charted
Oh,
just you charted your own path, and there's so many people who stand on your shoulders who have tried to walk the trail, the path that you blazed. So I'm honored, and I appreciate all that you've done.
oh, thank you so much. So everybody out there, just let me tell you this last word. Always have an exit plan. Always have a plan B. I don't care what your job is. Have a plan B.
Mm, great advice. Especially right now. There are people
Okay.
wishing they had a plan B
A
when
B, C,
2020,
D, and E.
all of that to the Z. All right.
Yeah. All right, then.
Have a
Thank you
good
so much
night.
for having me. Okay.
You're
Bye bye,
welcome.
everybody.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye bye.
Well, that is it for this Tuesday edition of Angela Rowe. I don't know if y'all, but I had a good time tonight. This was definitely an amazing interview. As always, I would like to remind you of Rare Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you all to go out and be the change. Have a great evening.